Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer. Welcome to the Impactful Engineer. Our mission is to help you grow your engineering career and inspire you to pursue your full potential as not only an engineering professional, but as a member of your greater community. I'm Steve Maxey, and I'm a mechanical engineering manager in new product development. And I'm here with my brother Jake, who owns and operates NLS Engineering, an electrical engineering partner in the AEC industry.
What's up, Steve?
What's up, buddy?
It's just so cool because today is the official day that I'm completely done with employment.
It is. So it's super exciting.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Jake,
I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's take care of some housekeeping here. We have 3 types of episodes that you will hear from us. The first one, Steve and I will just hop on, grab a topic we think is important, cover what we think about it and how it's impacted our careers to this point and how we think it'll help you. The next type of episode is either Steve or I will be on. It's kind of like a solo episode. We'll bring something that we're really passionate about or that we really think will help you and just get right down to the point. It's probably like, 5-10 minutes, just a quick hitter. And then every once in a while, we'll have a guest on. These are longer form episodes, about 60 minutes, but they're packed with the experiences of other people in the industry, other engineers that can bring you their story, their experiences, their expertise, and give you some good tips on how you can implement strategies in your own career that are beneficial to you. So today is one of those types of episodes. We have a guest on today. Been looking forward to this one for a few weeks. So we have Mark Smith on. He's with Bothwell Engineering, and his story up to this point is pretty interesting, and we've got some good stuff for you. So welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me as a guest today. I'm excited for the conversation ahead.
Yeah, we're excited.
Awesome. So we always start out, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll get rolling.
Sure. Chemical engineer by trade. I'm sure you can hear from the accent, not from the US. So I did my undergrad in Scotland where I grew up, largely been doing startups in biotech and pharma for my entire career. Maybe did my first 10 years in Europe, Scotland, England, Ireland, Holland, Sweden, good kind of broad range of projects and doing engineering, CQV, and even a little bit of quality just to kind of get the other side of things on a project. So then ended up coming to the US, continued doing the same thing, but kind of seeing the opportunities that were available and started to think about Bothwell and ended up going back to school, got an MBA because I thought it might be worth learning a little bit more about business before starting my own one. And then shortly after that, Bothwell really began. So I suppose give you a little bit about Bothwell. So we specialize in delivering integrated engineering and project management services in life sciences. When I say engineering, I mean we're project and process engineers, we're automation engineers, and we're CQV engineers. So 2015 was really when we started to develop the company, and I partnered up with a couple of very good friends who had worked with before. And we had a pretty clear goal as we'd all worked in the industry beforehand, and there were things that we didn't like about what we ended up seeing with the companies that we worked for. So we wanted to build a place where people genuinely wanted to come to work, kind of driven by the whole problem solving and peace, integrity, and kind of collaboration across teams. So over the years, we've grown very carefully and deliberately. Our foundation is expertise. And although our consultants kind of range from people who are emerging talent straight out of school to experts with more than 30 years of experience, our team of 60 actually averages about 17 years of industry experience. So that's kind of how we've tried to differentiate ourselves. It's really difficult to build a strong reputation, but it's unbelievably easy to ruin one. So we protect ourselves by making sure we hire the right people. And we're very proud of the environment that we've created, but we're never going to stop evolving. And as we continue to grow, we're constantly looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, how can we be better, both for the people that work with us and for the clients that we support. So
that's amazing. Like you said, you wanted to do some things that you saw for the companies that you work that you thought, this could be better, right? So, kind of reason. I don't know, Steve. What am I at? We'll say 1,823 for starting my own firm. It's definitely one of those. I applaud you for that, and I hope. Well, like, I'm just curious. Is there anything that you were like, hey, this is terrible. If we just did it this way, it would be way better. Things like that. And then you get to your own company, and through the years, have you looked back and said, well, I kind of think maybe why they did it that way. Has any of that caught you, or have you just? I mean, I'm just going to deflect. I'm going to be like, nope, no, my way's better. Nope, I'm not going to admit that.
It would definitely be easy to deflect, but I don't know. I mean, there's nothing that really jumps out there. I mean, it's not like it's difficult stuff that we were looking to change. I mean, it's things like, especially given the type of company that we are, we're a services organization for this industry. It's very easy because you're kind of scattered at client sites all over the place, so you're not necessarily seeing a bunch of your own colleagues at your company. It's very easy to just feel like a number in a faceless organization. So we've been very active to try and change that and make sure that that everybody understands who they have in their network within Bothwell, whether it's from a friend side of things or from a professional side of things, because as I said, we have all of these experienced people and all these more junior people as well. And it's great to be able to have them kind of cross-functionally be speaking to one another, even if they're at completely different sites and completely different locations. I think it just it lends itself a little bit better than just you being an individual and feeling like you're on in an island with a client, So it's really simple things, a lot of it.
Yeah, I love that you have a good mix of new grads or newer engineers, as well as a lot of experienced people. So in your hiring process, do you typically try to bring outside talent from the lower end of experience and then just move people up internally, or do you kind of fill roles as they pop up, both externally and internally?
It's usually filling roles as they pop up. But the way that we do it, we don't carry a big bench of people that are ready to be placed whenever we find a role, because we run a lot leaner than that. That costs a lot of money. I think Jake's going to understand all of this more that he builds into his own company. But it's like the cash flow piece of it. So that's. But the way that we do work, though, is we are dealing with a huge number of people in the background who are currently employed, but they're looking for the next thing, and they're happy to sit where they are until we find the right role come along. So that's kind of a good way to almost stack the bench without having a bench as such.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that speaks to the culture that you're building as well, right? Because if other engineers out there that are working for other organizations are like ready to jump in, they know that your organization has a strong culture already established.
Yes, and also I think the thing that helps there is that in kind of that selective nature of the recruitment process that we've had, we've used our networks to the maximum. So most of the people that you're going to see within Bothwell, either myself, Brian, or Jason, my business partners, have worked with them at some point before, or one of our other personnel has worked with them before. So that kind of confirmation from someone that we know and trust that we are getting the right type of person, not just technically, but just from a personality fit as well to fit into the organization, it's a huge piece of how we've looked at it.
Yeah, that really speaks to the importance of personal brand, right? Yeah. That you've built and your partners have built through your own careers.
Yeah.
It's something I've been noticing as a common theme for exceptional companies, right? Yeah, great. So you talked about new hires, and our podcast is geared towards I would say 0 to 5 year mostly.
Yes.
And we want to give really we want stories, experiences, things that we know they're going to go through. It's going to happen, and share what we took from it. Share what any tips they can implement as they go through it. And I know you've got a lot of those. So I wanted to, or at least one big one good story I've heard. So I wanted to dive into that, like maybe some early career, and play around there for a little while. And I'm sure we're going to pull up some good stuff.
Yeah, let's maybe start right at the beginning then, because that's where the fun actually started. So right out of college, I ended up getting hired by a company called Cryoservice. They're like a small air products So they didn't do the large gas deliveries. They did the smaller gas cylinders and small liquefied systems. And when I was recruited, their remit on day one, it's almost like going back to, remember your final year of college and you get your design project and they give you that one sheet of paper and it's, this is what you're going to do this year. It was like a flashback to that. And I was told that I needed to design a system for nitrogen generation to be used in dispense in bars and restaurants. So pretty interesting. And, given all the specifications they're expecting to meet with it. So I get down to this place. It's in a part of England I've never been to before. I don't know anybody down there. So everything is change. So, only 22 at the time. And I dive headlong into this. And I realized very quickly that there's really not very much support in the organization. They're still a relatively small company, but as far as the organization itself and the culture that it has and the ability to train people and kind of move their learning along just wasn't really there. And, at this point in my career, I'm wildly independent, but back then I was looking for some structure and some support and the training and all that to go with it. So I continued through, got to the first stage of reporting on my project where I'd kind of done my market analysis and such, and presented to the CEO of the company. Again, that's how small the company was. Wow. Presented to the CEO what my options were for them for the systems we were going to look to design. And I ended up, I got an email back from him afterwards, thanking me for the work that I'd done. And I remember going to my boss afterwards and he was like, so how did it go? And I was like, oh, it was great. It went well. And then I got this email afterwards and he turns to me and goes, oh, when I did my first one, I got a handwritten letter and he took me out that. And I was like, so how, and that's helpful. How? Again, it goes to the where's the supportive networks that, that's there and oh, well done, and maybe what's the next steps? But no. Yeah. So at the same time, when they'd hired me as a graduate, they hired another lady as a graduate as well. And my manager is one of those really stereotypical introverted engineers who should never have been put in charge of people at all. And, he struggled to do anything to manage me, but when he had a lady underneath him, that was a real struggle. And any focus that he had towards me beforehand was all shifted. Go a few months down the road, and I've designed and built a system. I've come up with, it's a pressure swing adsorption system that I ended up coming up with. So, you have basically a container which has carbon in it. You pressurize it. It absorbs all the waste materials. Your nitrogen then goes into a storage vessel and it releases all of the waste. Great fun designing and building all this sort of stuff. But the critical piece of this is the carbon in the system. And there's very few companies that actually manufacture it. So I pulled in different samples of that. And one of them was a clear winner for what we were looking to do. Went over, visited them in Germany for the day, saw the manufacturing process, talked through everything, and got told what it meant to, manufacture the volume of systems that we were going to look to do. You needed to buy this much carbon. Went back to the company and told them it's going to cost you X dollars in order to sign up for this, and everything fell apart. It was unbelievable. The fact that they had to spend any real money in order to get this off the ground. Just everything fell apart. It was really interesting. So after that, it was kind of a downhill slope to me being pulled in one day and being told I was fired. And
wow.
This is 8 months into my first job in the industry, and I'd worked my ass off up until that point and thought I had done all the things right, and have the rug pulled from under you. And
isn't that's something, Steve? Like. Okay, hey, I'm just kind of like thinking through it. I'm like, all right, I got a company, I got a few people, we're small, we're going to create this nitrogen generator. We think we have a market with bars, and cool, man, let's give it to a 22-year-old kid and just have him go talk to manufacturers and shit, and nothing else, just like come back with the result, please. And we think that's going to be like, perfect. Oh yeah. Oh, great. You've thought about all these things that we have tons of experience with that we never even told you about. And you recreated the wheel. And you could have just done this yourself. That's great. Thanks for that. And this is going to be a huge success. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And to layer on top of that, it's,
but good for you. Like,
yeah. But like, you obviously would have learned a lesson that you would not repeat again. Right. And then they just get rid of you. And then so they're going to bring in another person who doesn't know that lesson now. And then they're going to make that same mistake. And they're just going to keep cycling through people. and learning those kind of lessons earlier in your career when they're smaller impact, etc., is going to be so much more valuable in the long run, right? Because now you will not make that mistake when the stakes are so much higher.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? So like that's like a double whammy in terms of like their mistakes as far as like letting you go. It's like, oh, no training. We expect you to be perfect, and you're not. So later, and then the lessons you learned are completely wasted because they got rid of you also.
Yeah. And it's funny. We can move in a slightly different direction with this as well, because in parallel, again, when I'm talking about just the culture in the place and such as well, it's my boss's boss, really nice guy. When I first met him, invites me around to his house. I meet his wife and his kids, have dinner with him and all that. Really nice guy. Then a couple of months later, I find out that all of a sudden he has decided to hook up with the young graduate lady that was employed at the time too. So that makes things a little bit awkward at work.
And then so much wrong.
Oh, I know. And then on like a Thursday night, I'm sat in my apartment that night and I get a knock at the door. And there's the boss's boss, who lays out in no uncertain terms, "You're not going to tell anyone about this now, are you?" So that's the environment that you're ending up working in.
What a place.
I know. So I think all of this.
So hey, listeners, look forward to this stuff.
Yeah. I think to kind of bring it all together, then, I mean, this is all to say that every job that you go to is not going to be the greatest of jobs. The young engineers coming out of school right now, I'm sure the vast majority of them will end up in excellent work environments with people who are supportive, train them, and make them grow into the engineer that they want to become. But unfortunately, some of them are just going to enter a complete shit show, and that's just the way it is. But I think, as Steve pointed out, it's like there's lessons to be learned in all of this, and you will grow no matter whether it's good or a bad environment for you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, you just created yourself a hell of a story at that point. So I don't know how you leverage that. I'm very curious into the next, or maybe you just went and started a company, but like your next employment. What did you drag out of that experience? I mean, you were out designing things from scratch, finding the cost of the carbon, getting all of this put together as a 22-year-old. And I mean, that's what I'd be pitching at the next place. I would say, there might've been I'm looking for some more structure and training. I think it would amplify my ability to do a great job for you guys. So I'd like you to tell me about that, because that was, a huge gap at my other firm. I was almost in some sort of toss up with the law probably. So, if we could hit on that, that'd be great. But then you could hit on just like, hey, I was talking to these manufacturers, I was getting costs, I was doing all these things. I gained a lot of skills in a very short amount of time. That's what I would use that for.
And that's exactly what I did. So, you had to leverage, obviously, it's the first experience at school. So I need to leverage it in one way or another to kind of show myself to the next prospective employer. But if I'm very honest, I think the thing that I learned there as well is when I went to the next set of interviews, I ended up getting hired by Merck Sharp and Dome in London after this. But when I interviewed with them, I made it very clear when they interviewed me and told me what the role was going to be, that, there are a lot of things that you are asking for here that I just don't know and I have not done yet, and I'm going to need the support in order to be able to do it. And surprisingly enough, that seemed to be refreshing to them and what they wanted, and they were open to bringing me in and training me and helping me to do it in the right way. So, I think there's a couple of sides to it there,
Well, you told them the nitrogen generator story. You were like, I could either bring you a hunk of thing that can't go to market and is not profitable and it gets shut down, or you could, help me in these places that I don't know, and I'll bring you something great.
Yeah. But it's amazing how it transforms, though, because there was a few months there over summer where I was just completely disillusioned, didn't even look at the industry, and just did an outdoor labor job just to kind of tick things over. But at some point, the brain kicks back in and you want to be doing something that is a bit more stimulating. And it really couldn't have worked any better. I went from what my worst situation in the industry was to working with some of the best people I've ever worked for. And as far as managers go, I mean, I'm going to name a couple. Jenny Douglas and Nigel Cryer just turned out to be unbelievably supportive for my career. And, I can't really thank them enough for what they then helped me be able to do in that next role.
A good company will bring you right out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think working for, for lack of a better term, a shit company gives you a lot of perspective and skill sets to find the right company afterward. Even outside of engineering, like my wife had a terrible experience with her first teaching job because she's a teacher, and she wanted to quit teaching and not do it ever again. And, I helped convince her to stay in it, but just try a different school. And she went to a new school, and it was like a world of a difference. And she had so much perspective that she really appreciated all the other things that she found at this new school. And, she's still a teacher to this day because she didn't give up on that. So, I mean, I think it's universally applied, in every industry.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah. And I'll share my quick version of it is like, I landed at a company that almost made me want to just quit engineering altogether. I was like, hey, I'm going to go start a pizza truck and I'm going to run around Cape Cod selling pizzas. And then we'll figure out what to do when the weather's bad. Like I was ready. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. But then a new company brought me right back out of it. So it's like, just to kind of tie it back for the listener that might be just starting, it's not a waste if you get into a company that's like that, it's not a waste. Learn from it and you can bring the lessons to the next company and you'll know more about what to look for. You're just you're building your resume, you're building your experience.
Yeah.
And the first shot's not always going to be the right shot. And then I'm in like an extreme loyal person until I knew what loyalty actually meant in a business context. I thought it was just like, I've been here for a year and I'm going to stay because they expect me to stay. And it'd be a big problem for them if I left. But loyalty is both ways. So if the company's not serving you, why are you serving the company is really how I put it. It needs to be a fair exchange,
Excellent.
So going from being fired to then, getting to these companies where you shouted out the couple managers that helped you out in your career. Do you have any examples from how they helped you out? Was it more of just a long-term, they guided you kind of a thing, or were there some points in there that you were like, man, if they hadn't have helped me with that, it could have turned out something different? Any highlights from those relationships?
So,
hey, my fellow impactful engineers, if there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, is to keep listening to the podcast, but also that if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
There's an awful lot of stuff that they helped me with. I mean, they really did, in a lot of this stuff, just train me from scratch. And I mean, when you look at Merck Sharp and Dome as a company, it's a very well-run company, very structured. And one of the things that I really liked about it was that everybody in there is trained on kind of the Stephen Covey stuff, the 7 Habits and such. And, I got pulled into that sort of training as well. And just that, the ability to learn again how to, take your notes a little bit better, how to structure your time a little bit better. I mean, the things that I learned back then are still things that I use today in order to help me with the current job that I have, even though it is, night and day compared to what my original one was. So, the fact that they exposed me, because I was a consultant back then, or a contractor, not a W-2. So, the fact that they exposed me when I wasn't an employee to those sorts of things just talks to the type of people and organization that they were. It wasn't an us and them as far as employees and contractors go,
Right. And I don't have any experience with contract work. Do you, Steve? I imagine in the product engineering world you do.
Pretty limited, actually. But I think it's really cool that they took that interest in helping you develop your career, even though you weren't part of the team, quote unquote, as a W-2. But you were still a massive contributor to their projects and the such. So that's really awesome that they did that.
Yeah. And how to so if you find people like that, take advantage of that. And I'll just throw out one point, from a mentor's perspective, at least from my experience, people mentor because they like being a mentor and they've been where you're at and they want to help you because they're kind of the best qualified to help who they used to be, which is you, right?
Yeah.
They've risen through their career too, and they kind of know where you're at. But you want to maximize that benefit. So this is for people that are just starting, and it's I guess it's for everybody, but you want to take the advice and take action on what they're giving you. You want to put yourself in the best place to encourage them to continue mentoring you. Because there's a lot to say about that relationship as it develops. And you're not like, do you want to be my mentor? Yeah, of course. Okay, cool. I guess now I'm your mentee. Okay, great. We've established that. Now I have it doesn't go that way. It's like you start slowly implementing the things and showing them what you've done and the product of their advice, you know? So Mark, I don't know if you did that a lot. Kind of running with what they had to say, right? It's like, okay, I ran with this and this is the thing. Like, what's next? Is there more? What else you got? You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, at that stage, when you're talking about, a large chunk of your audience being the 0 to 5 year engineers, I mean, at that point, there's so much to learn. You should just be a sponge, and there's constant questions and constant learning. So you should always be trying to pull what's the next thing out of them in order to develop yourself. I mean, I think as you pointed out, that's at this stage of your career, it's resume building and building the skills that are going to get you where you want to go longer term.
Do you ever feel like you bothered them? I hear that a lot. Like that's
probably yes. I know I bother a lot of people right now. A lot of what I do in a day is talking and bugging people. So
I hear a lot of like, I don't want to ask stupid questions. I don't want to be asking too many questions. I've worked with direct reports, just kind of managing that,
Yeah. And, it's back then, I was certainly not as extroverted as I am now, and you think about everything so much before you go and you ask a question. And an awful lot of times that means you miss your opportunity to even ask the question. So, it's the growing that confidence over those years as well in order to get to the point where, you have that confidence in yourself to not even think about it and just ask the question. But ultimately, we always say it, like, there are no stupid questions. It's like, just because you know something that somebody else doesn't mean it's a stupid question. So there should be that environment where even if potentially it is a question that somebody thinks like that they should be coming back with the appropriate answer to help you learn.
Yeah. I like peeling experience for people so much that sometimes I'll be too quick on the question. And when it comes out, I'm like, that was stupid. Like, don't even bother answering that question. Like, I wish I could just take that vibration back and put it in my body. Like, but it served me so well. So I just encourage everybody, like, be asking questions, man. And it's a relationship with the people you're asking questions of. It's like, am I asking too many? And should I just be spending a little more time? What's your rule? I've had a mentor have a great rule with, like, if it takes a quarter of the time that they allotted to you for you and you're stuck, then it's time to ask questions, so you can put in parameters and all that stuff. Create your own system around it, and don't be afraid to talk about what the system should be. Because you want to maximize that relationship. You want to take all the friction out. If you're annoying somebody, figure out why that is.
Yeah.
Right. And then just change it. It's like it's just for your own benefit to maximize it,
Yeah. So I suppose then, just circling back to that job then and the positive experience and such, is the direction that ended up going in. I know since, you've both just touched on the contractor versus employee thing there, and I've always really been a contractor. So I got to the point with that company where they were then ready to hire me to be a system lead for one of their new builds as they were expanding their facility in London. And I'd been working with a contractor who was in his mid-60s and excellent guy, so laid back and cool. And when he heard that I got offered that, he pulled me aside and he was like, Mark, you don't want to do that. Contracting is the way to go. You're going to get to travel. You're going to get to do jobs you wouldn't get to do otherwise. And I'm not going to lie, he talked me out of taking a full-time job there. And I've never looked back after that conversation. So it's amazing then the random encounters that also happen within these environments that help direct your career in the end,
And I'll bet you did a lot of building up to that point and trust building and working well with this person.
Yes.
Because otherwise they would have just been like, let him figure it out. Yeah. It's like, oh no, I really feel like I should give Mark this advice. Right. So it further just compounds and opens up avenues for learning and wisdom. Right.
Yeah.
Did you, staying as a contractor for the your entire non-business owning career, prep you and essentially just lead into you having your own business?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's, Bothwell. I had a Bothwell Engineering in the UK when I was working in Europe. Again, it was my conduit to be paid working as a contractor for another organization. And then when I came to the US, same sort of thing. I formed a company several years before we really started to develop it into what it is now. So I kind of forget where I was going with this.
I am. Well, that's good because I asked so many questions. I has to read. Okay, I'm just interested in the name Bothwell.
Oh,
Where does that
it's
come from?
it's super simple. So an awful lot of people seem to think it's because of the place. There's a town in Scotland called Bothwell, but
Gotcha.
I actually spent an awful lot of my time in Glasgow, and I ended up living on Bothwell Street. And it's super central in the city. I loved my apartment there. I could walk to everything, and that's where the name came from. It's that easy.
Nice.
Nice.
So every time you think about it, you can think about that street and the place you loved growing up, I guess,
Oh,
or
I do
spending a
know.
lot of time in. Yeah.
Still wish I had that apartment. But
All right. So you mentioned before that you would advise, I guess, aspiring engineers, but also um, even early career engineers. There's this, advantage to seeking education outside of, I mean, in the workplace is great, but also outside of the workplace. And some of this applies to, kids in college or people trying to get their bachelor's or going for their master's, but you can take semesters off or go to a school that offers co-op opportunities, but get into companies and really get curious and dig in. And some of them will even pay you and, um, learn that way and get some really good ranging experience. Um, it is a huge recommendation of mine. I know you recommend it too, but, what are your thoughts on co-ops? What's your experience with education outside of the workplace?
I love the model that a lot of the schools in and around Boston have with the co-ops.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons I did the undergrad that I did was that it was really the only school in Scotland that offered a 1 year. It was placement. So they had pretty good connections with the industry. And I ended up working with what was SmithKline Beecham's back then. And it was a great year in the industry. So, we dealt with an awful lot of, Northeastern students in particular as well in their ChemE program. And it seems as though it's like a 6 months in school, 6 months in the workplace for 2 to 3 years, I believe it is. And, then you're leaving school at the end with 18 months of legit experience at some of the biggest corporations around. And I mean, the quality
Mm-hmm.
of engineers that we see coming out of those schools is very high. I'm definitely very impressed with what we end up seeing. We've worked with a number of them at clients in the area, but we also, one of our clients, we support them with their co-op programs for both engineering and for automation. So they'll kind of find the co-ops that they want, and then we kind of employ them for the durations that they need in order to make the onboarding process a lot smoother. So it's great for the client because they get the access that they need for the 6 month period, but it's great for us too because we get exposure to these new, young, excellent engineers that are coming through and are going to be entering the industry full time in a short period of time. So it's
Yeah.
just such a great program that these companies and schools have.
Yeah, I have good experience because I'm also in and around Boston. So
Yeah,
I know Steve, you probably have some experience with co-op programs too. But I agree.
yeah,
I'll echo the quality of the students that come out of these universities. I've worked a lot with Mass Maritime Academy and with
yeah,
Wentworth Institute of Technology, and they every one of them, they all have their own unique abilities and where they're at in their lives, but they all come with just this energy and willingness to work and absorb, what we're laying down. I've had, I think, 6 co-ops come through before I was done at Hallam, and great to see the success that they're having. A few
yeah,
have been hired by great companies, and just being able to give them that network too. Being connected and giving them the shot, not handing it to them, but just saying, hey, if you do these things, you'll have a shot. So, that includes um, just getting. I mean, they were my direct reports, so that's a huge step up, right? But just going around the company. So if you're going to co-op and you land at a company, you have your direct supervisor, but also like be making friends with all of their colleagues too. I encouraged every co-op that came in to make a little mini resume about what they know how to do, and then on a micro level, like this week, I learned how to place panel boards in the Revit. You know, I learned how to schedule branch circuiting. I learned how to size wires. And you just keep this continually updated resume and you're sending it out weekly to these list of people. Hey guys,
yeah,
learned how to do this week. I can take some assignments. And they run with it, right? And so I guess I would say to people listening, if you're in that position, create yourself a little mini resume. Talk to people. see what they're interested in, get referrals. Most people are very willing to do a soft introduction, especially because it's in a non-compete scenario. You're not stepping on any relationship by opening the door for a prospective engineer. It's only to help their company and that student grow. So I've seen that really work out. So don't be the shy co-op. Go in there and just start meeting people. It'll have a huge effect on the starting of your career and the rest of your career.
It really will. Sorry, Stephen.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna echo the importance of the network building, right? That co-ops and internships provide. So
yeah, it's like you were saying there, though, Jake. I mean, this kind of ties into, I know, the couple of questions that we'll address right at the end. But one of the things that I was going to be saying, kind of what you're touching on there, it's like expand your focus. I know that you're in there to be an engineer, but engineers are exposed to a huge variety of different problems that give you opportunities to interact with all the other departments that are there that ultimately help the company get a product out the door. So, get to know your colleagues in QC, supply chain, manufacturing, facilities, whatever the department may be, because you'll then be able to do your own job better because you'll understand the impact of the work that you're doing to them and vice versa. So the bigger understanding of how everything ties together is going to make the work that you do better. And I think that as engineers, an awful lot of people as well will be thinking about project management in the future. So the earlier you start with that, that approach, rather than just looking at my engineering stuff, but everything that comes in around it, that's going to be the thing that ends up setting you apart in the future if you want to go that route to be a PM.
Yeah, I always recommend, you said lift your or broaden your focus. It's like, I always recommend that. As a zero, if you're just starting 0 to 1 year, you're going to be very focused. You're going to be working hard, and you should be. You should be trying to set yourself apart from the pack and learning as much as you can. That's why, we invite higher performers to listen to the show. This is who we're talking about. Do that work, but also weave in this networking, weave in this lifting your head up and, broadening your focus and seeing what's around. I'll tell you, if you spend like 15 minutes a week, that's it, just 15 minutes. And if you can't squeeze it into your job, do it on top of your job, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Be networking with people. And the more you learn about who all the players are in your field, especially consultants pack huge value by knowing the right people to talk to at the right time with the right solution that can get it to the person or the project that needs it done, right? That's a huge part of our value. So building that network and understanding other people's businesses, how they work, why they're even there in the first place. How do they play in this sandbox we're all playing in? What part do they have to play? So if you can learn that as you gain technical skill, and do all the other millions of things we're telling you to do, you're going to bring so much value to the next. For the organization you're in, as you get promoted, but also if you're going to switch, you bring that network with you, and if that's of huge value. I can't say that enough about the networking piece.
Yeah, and that's even applicable in product development, right? And if you're in one side of product development and you need the expertise that comes from another type of industry, if you have a large network, you can contact those engineers and pull that technical knowledge. Like, if I don't know anything about plastics and I know this guy over here who knows a ton about plastics, I can call him up and be like, hey, Bob, I really need to solve this problem. Can you help me out with this challenge? And you already have that relationship from your intern or your co-op or whatever. And they'll be like, heck yeah, here's the information. How you doing? And you still weave in the personal connection side of it, but you're going to get excellent support from your overall network when you're working on whatever design you're working on.
Yeah. Yes. For the network really is so much of what we do. I mean, biotech and pharma, it's a huge industry that's actually really small, and it's so much about who you know. So it's, you go to one project, you go there, you're a nice, personable individual who knows what they're doing. That project finishes and people scatter to 20 other companies. And, all of a sudden opportunities arise and such, and that continues during your career, and your network just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a great piece.
And one day it won't be, we could tell you as much as we want that it's very important. it will sink in the day that you need it and you have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'll also sink in the day that you need it and you don't have it.
Yeah.
Either way, one of them gives you a good result, the other one not so much.
Yeah.
So just know that it's super important.
And I think every industry is like that, right? I mean, I've been in automotive, been in aerospace, I've been in consumer product, with tools and stuff. You guys have been in multiple industries. Every single industry, even if it is large, it's still small, right? Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring the community aspect. I mean, really.
Yeah. So I think the flip side then of that network is the do not burn a bridge.
Yes.
You got to be very careful there. It will come back and bite you too.
I've already almost done that just because I'm a noob and I'm learning. Like I've already almost torched things. So, but thankfully people have my back and we're looking out for me, like, so yeah, a lot to learn there, for me personally. I'm curious, like, when you ended up in Massachusetts, was it a really strong lead or a company brought you over here? They needed your services and you kind of it was a natural flow? Or were you like, hey, I'm very experienced in this life sciences stuff and biotech, and I heard Massachusetts is huge in it, so this is where I'm going to go?
I had always wanted to come to the US and work, and the opportunity just hadn't arisen at that point. But then it did when Bristol Myers Squibb were building their big campus out in Fort Devens. So I'd been doing a fair bit of work on clean in place systems in Holland and in Sweden, and it just so happened that they needed help because that facility's enormous out there, and it's up to 20,000 litre scale stainless steel. So the cleaning aspect was enormous. So the previous experience in Europe was kind of what opened the door for me to come over here. But you obviously need Sorry, on you go, Jake.
No, I was going to say, like, you still operate in England too?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Got it.
I would love to, but again, it's boots on the ground is the big thing to kind of make that happen. And we're growing so fast over here that it's tough to kind of do that too. So we'll hopefully get there. Don't
get the shiny object syndrome. This one's doing so well. Let's start another one that we won't even be at. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this was great. I think we're coming up on time here. Man, it's just like, okay, 50 minutes later. Anything you want to, I guess, Steve, you're probably better at this, but anything that you want to share about what you're doing now, or I don't know what kind of activity you have on LinkedIn, or any resources you want to share, now would be the time.
Yeah, I mean, people should be able to find me on LinkedIn, probably not via Mark Smith. We're a little bit common, but, if you search for me under Bothwell Engineering, they should be able to find me there. And, I do a little bit of blog writing and such as well to kind of give some of the experiences that I'm seeing with the running the business and on the day-to-day. But also, I'm a big triathlete, so you'll see some of that sort of stuff out there too.
I see the numbers in the background. I see a tag with some numbers.
Yeah. But there are a huge number of resources in this area that are, great for younger engineers to use. I mean, I would highly recommend them being part of International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineers, because it's so active in this area and they're constantly having events and presentations, and, you can learn an awful lot of the newest stuff that's happening in the industry. And then each year down in, what's the Patriots?
Foxborough.
Yeah,
Gillette Stadium. Yeah.
They do their product show annually down there. Right. And it is a huge event with thousands of people. So it's an excellent opportunity to kind of see what's going on in the industry, see what the new tech is, and kind of meet up with like-minded individuals. So I would highly recommend that for anyone younger entering the industry.
Yeah, and if you don't think that ISPE is for you, that's okay. I would show up anyway and say, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. Hey, totally new to pharmaceutical engineering. What are you doing today? What is your booth? Like, it's so easy to do that. And I would if the reason you don't go is because you're fearful that you just don't belong there, like, screw that, go, and just introduce yourself and say what you're doing, where you're from. I'm sure people would love to know where you're at, what you're doing, and they could point you in the right direction.
For sure. Yeah. It's a pretty welcoming environment, I've found.
Yeah. That show I haven't attended. I should have taken advantage of that while I was at Hallam, but I heard it's a great show. They're always there. They're pharmaceutical engineers. So awesome. I would say take that, look up ISP and actually get out there. Anything else?
No, I mean, I suppose, one of the big things when we talk about, the stuff that I'm perhaps doing or enjoy, I mean, a big part of it, focusing on the work side of things is, I love the operational readiness piece of all the project work that we do and kind of spanning the construction through to startup piece. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about with expanding your focus. It's over the years, I've made sure to kind of start to speak to all of these other groups and try and understand how they operate and why they operate the way that they do. And that's why I now get the opportunities to be able to go in and try and do these projects that pull together all these different work streams at the end in order to make it into one cohesive thing that at the end of it turns out product for the client on a timeline and a budget that they require. It's, so it's an awful lot of time it's taken to get me here, but I love what I do now, and I don't really have any intention of stopping.
That's amazing. All right, Steve, you want to hit him with your question first?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. So my standard question is a little more high level, and it's simply, what makes an impactful engineer to you?
So this is a really good question, this one. Actually, it got me thinking, and, it was kind of nice to take a moment and reflect and, remember what is actually important and what we do. So thinking about it, I would say knowing what's important and what's not, as there's an awful lot of noise that surrounds the work that we do. So, and, impactful engineer is going to fight to make sure that whatever your product is built with integrity and to the highest standards. So at Bothwell, we like to say that we're not yes people, that we're going to challenge a client's thinking, offer honest feedback, and hopefully innovative solutions to them as well to drive their progress. Because, at the end of the day, engineering is probably the most trusted profession in the world, and the individuals need to remember that in the work that they're doing.
Yeah, no, I love that. You're really there to solve a problem, and so you want to solve that problem to the best of your ability. And to make sure that, whoever the customer is not only happy with your solution, but also is in the best state with that solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
In my industry, especially when you get the professional engineers registration, which is like kind of the big mid-career kind of, or I guess early mid-career accomplishment, it becomes way more important as well. That integrity that you're talking about. You're basically taking an oath to protect the welfare of the public through your design in my industry. And I'm sure that comes up a lot with the equipment that you work with. So yeah, that's awesome to remember to not, and you'll build the experience too throughout the years, but to remember to cut through all the noise and not have a system to fall back on. What is your system? What are your values? What doesn't get by you? That kind of stuff. So that's a good answer. My question is more, what does the person that's listening to this and then shuts off the show, what do they immediately pull over to the side of the road and start doing? Or get off the treadmill, or, it's more action-based. So what's an action someone could take to just start down the road of improving their career?
So I think we touched on one earlier, the expand the focus piece. I think we've talked about that enough. So the other one that, I usually can't emphasize enough to people is get your hands dirty. It's once you're out of school and working, the real learning opportunities happen in the field, not at your desk. So get out there, get hands-on with the equipment and really fully understand how it works and what it is that it's doing. That's going to make you better at the jobs that you end up doing when you likely have to troubleshoot it 6 months in the future. So yeah, get your hands dirty would be my response to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know how I got my hands dirty in engineering? Because, I didn't build a damn thing growing up. Like, I hardly knew what a circuit breaker was. Like, my dad was wiring the whole house, and I'm like, that's not cool. I'm going to go play computer, don't shut off the outlet. I'm trying to play games. So cause you'll feel a lot of pressure at work to move fast, to not hold people up, especially like when I was in the field. So I'll design construction documents, and then people are building it, and I go talk to the contractors, and we're looking at, boxes that are put up and raceways and all the stuff and the wiring. And just, you should, feel comfortable, and you have permission to tell them, I'm going to be here for a couple hours. Yeah. It'd be great if I could take a look around, and then you're not being, escorted through. You're just spending some time with the building. Look at the interconnection. Look at the, how does that conduit, why does it jog like that right before it gets to the box? What is the connector there? What is that grounding bushing that goes on and this little green wire that comes off and connects to the box? Like, get down to it. Oh, they use an actual hex flat like screw. Why is that? Why is a screw not a bolt? And why is it not? Just really get in there, and then you can ask the electrical contractors questions. I mean, I recommend that you find the super, or and figure out who is the lead for a trade, because most people out there are trying to just get all the work done, right? And then the supervisor's walking around just making sure it's good, and they're more hanging out. They have an important job, but they're more not doing the work. So try not to bother the tradespeople that are out trying to install stuff. But if they're friendly, start asking questions, man. And hey, tell me about this area of the building. Here's my one line. Let's look at how this actually came out in the field. And like, you'll find people that want to teach you stuff. So just piggybacking on that. Take the time to do that. You learn so much.
You really
and speaking from a product development standpoint, I mean, you learn so much by doing, and in product development, you're in front of a computer, you're designing stuff, but you do have the opportunity to go to the manufacturing floor, try building things, make physical prototypes of things, because you're going to understand why certain design decisions were made once you get your hands dirty, because you're like, oh, I need clearance to put a tool in here to access the screw, et cetera, et cetera. So, asking just to get on the production floor will help your design career like immensely just by doing things.
Steven, you ready to take it away?
What do you got? I can do that. All right. Well, first off, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is packed with great content for especially the 0 to 5 year engineer, which is great because that's our target audience. So thanks again, Mark, for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah. And to our listeners, if you learned something today or think someone else needs to hear what Mark has to say today, please share the show. You can just tell them, go to Spotify or, Apple Podcasts and look up Impactful Engineer, or you can just send them a link yourself. But it's the best way we can grow the podcast and continue to create value and impact for the engineering community.
And you know what, Steve? I got an email today from someone trying to sell me their service that says, you have 100-something episodes and only this many reviews. Like, this is where you're messing up. And I'm like, this guy's trying to make me feel bad or something. So, hey, leave us a written review, even if it's like, hey, this show is I don't know who these Jake and Steve and Mark people are, but they had one good thing to say, and here's what it is. Like, just even just a simple thing like that would help the show grow. Like,